everyone, and welcome to Life Clarifications with Natasha. And again, we have Wendy on here, and I'm so excited because we get to finish what we were navigating with. And I love that word navigating because life's about navigation. So with that, we're in this moment, and me being a medium intuitive awareness coach, that I love to bring awareness to people and their life they're bringing forth. And I thought, Wendy, you did an amazing job of talking about how your past life, not necessarily past life. Let me rephrase that again. Your life that you had before, where you're at now.
That's still a past life.
It is a past life.
Before and after waking up spiritually.
Exactly. That you had this near-death experience while pregnant with a child. And then you kind of went into, after, you went into the hospital after you had another one. So you almost had two back to back.
Yes, I had two within a week.
Yeah. And that's, wow, life-shattering, life opportunity, life, altering, whatever you want to call it, moments. And then you have this little one. And then to catch everybody up, that last week when you can catch the show to get more detail of last week at 4:00, that you then, after having your child, found out your marriage. This wonderful man who is human, and I'm just going to call him wonderful because I don't know him personally. But yet everybody's wonderful, but yet they all have these baggages and complications and stuff. You find out some things about him, and you found out that your marriage wasn't necessarily supposed to be, but then you found out there was something about this contract that you guys were together with.
Yes. And it was, I'm so glad we met. I'm so glad we married, had our wonderful children. But the shocker for me was to be home from the hospital and to just be so thrilled to have this healthy new baby, second child in my arms, particularly after having had infertility and ectopic pregnancies, to literally be home from the hospital and having survived the NDEs while pregnant with her, and to hear Archangel Michael say, your contract with your husband is complete.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to deal with that message. It's like, no, I don't think so. because a contract is complete, I didn't know what that meant, first of all. That was issue number one. And I'm like, what is that voice? Why do I feel such clarity around this? Why is this happening now? I don't even have my legs back underneath me from having just given birth and being in the hospital less than 24 hours. To hear this with such clarity was really a surprise to me. And we did our best, and we did our best until our daughters were 6 and 8. Mm-hmm. And at that point, we did divorce and did our very best to be friendly co-parents and to both grow as people, and just had the girls going back and forth. But that was a message I did not want to hear and really did not want to follow what I knew was my spiritual guidance.
Mm-hmm. So it was several years after you heard that, because Veronica just said, how long after hearing did you
6
separate?
years.
It was about 6 years. Because I know for me that in my journey with my husband, that I went through a contract being done. And my story is that I was at his parents and we got in a huge fight, and I went to a meditation, and a wonderful Native American woman took me and put me in a canoe spiritually and took me up the river of my past lives until we went to this one cabin, and it was in like the Netherlands, in the hills. And all I saw was us in spirit form, having great conversations, having lovingness, having this embraceness. We didn't have that in his, because he was an alcoholic. We didn't have that. I didn't feel safe in his arms, but we had all that. After getting in this huge fight at his mom's house and him being drunk, screaming and yelling all through his parents' house, she gave me this gift. So we went back down to and mostly she gave me these past lives of of us being together. So we've had many lives together. And as I'm showing going up and down the river, and I knew at that time that I got the inspiration on how to rewrite our contracts. So we can be done with our contracts as we are in this moment. And so I want to give people a chance that even if you're done with a contract, if you're meant to stay together, you will.
Yes.
Like for me, I was done with my contract with my husband. He got sober. We started a whole new contract.
Absolutely.
And so I just want people to give a chance that just because you get a message that a contract is done, it's up to us. And I love the fact that you tried to work it out a little bit to see if this was a new opportunity for life to happen, even if you didn't know that logically. Does that make sense?
Right.
But your soul knew it somewhere. Your soul knew it somewhere.
Yes.
So sorry for interrupting. But I wanted to make that clear in that moment, because so many
important point to make, that contracts absolutely can be changed, amended, renewed, ended. We just have to glean the lessons and just be in our heart. And I love that metaphor that you were on the river being shown those different experiences.
Oh, it was, I'm getting chills from it. Even though it was over 20 or over 15 years ago, it still is something that is so bright in my knowings, because it was such a poignant twist. Because I can tell you that standing in the garage, because I finally put myself in the garage because at least the whole house wouldn't hear, because I had his parents, my kids all in the house listening to this. And so I went in the garage at least so somebody wouldn't hear as much. And I sat down on this thing, and all of a sudden angel wings came around me and just gave me a breath. And it was so magical at that moment. But there again, when we're in these life cross moments, we have support like you bringing home this baby. Being new, you had this cross moment. What was I going to do with the rest of my life? So good job. Good job. Okay. So I interrupted again. I will.
No, not at all.
So go ahead with, now that you're at this moment where
so what happened next was I rebuilt life. So newly divorced, needed to figure out the career, new housing. How were we going to care for the kids? My mom relocated from out of state, and she and I were able to build a duplex together after some significant delays. And so life was going along really, really nicely. It's just, things were going great by the time my daughters were about 12 and 14. So like another cycle of 6 years had gone along. And that was the point where I decided it was time to meet someone. And I went on to Match.com, and of all the places and all the things to happen, there I meet the primary soulmate who's got the soul contract to wake me up spiritually. And he did so by introducing me to Michael Newton's Journey of Souls. And that was what then got me on the journey to start having my own past life regressions and life between lives sessions with a Newton therapist. So I had one year, and then a year later, I had the life between lives. And they were just so life-changing that 6 months after that, I had my first quantum healing hypnotherapy. And the year after that, I had 2 more. And at that point, I knew I was meant to train, because my life had changed so much
during that,
and improved so much over those several years, and through the process of those sessions, that I saw what they could do. And I used them as powerful building blocks to really dig in and do the work. Because that soulmate and I, we were not able to stay together romantically. There was just so much past life history. And unlike yours, well, I shouldn't say unlike, some of it was fantastic. Some of it was, highest highs, wonderful. And some of it was absolutely, really quite horrendous. So it was just very dramatic. Like
really true. Yeah,
the spectrum. Highest
You're,
highs, lowest lows.
yes, and that actually in in a perspective,
Contrast.
yeah, in a perspective, many times our soulmates are those greater teachers. They
Yes,
may not be the most kindest people in our lives. They are
correct.
meant to wake us up in some fashion and
Shake us to wake us.
shake us to wake us. And people, I can tell you that even if I've been married to my man that I've been married to for over 30 years, I don't know if I can call him my soulmate, because we've always had this, he's a double Leo, I'm a double Cancerian, or fire and water. We've always had this kind of separation between us, even though we've had this communion.
Mhm.
But I can tell you that I have a girlfriend. She's my soulmate.
Mhm.
You know?
And you can make significant progress. If you choose to do the work and just
Mhm.
keep on going when it's really hard, and find a way to not shut down, and find a
Mhm.
way to keep trying to rebuild on higher ground. That's just so, so important. Even though there might be a dark night of the soul, even though there might be some really, really challenging experiences, again, that's what's that expression about, when we get cracked open and broken, that's how the light can get in. And
Exactly.
I don't mean to make that be trite at all, because it doesn't feel good. It's not
No.
fun. We'd all love to learn and progress on easy breezy street, but that's not typically. I mean,
No.
sure, we need those points of rest and stability and quiet progress, or just relaxation, getting ready for the next phase of, now it's your Saturn return, or now it's this. But
Exactly. And yes, because I can tell you that my life cracked open right after my mom passed away.
Mhm,
I had two young kids here at home, and after my mom passed away, I said, my husband even says, "You're not the same woman I married
mhm,
after that." And he was still drinking. I mean, he noticed even through his alcoholism that still was not the same woman
mhm,
that he
mhm,
married, because I flipped everything over and woke up. But it took that
mhm,
cracking open.
mhm.
But that's grief. Grief is one of those things that if you don't get cracked open during grief, you're not looking at life.
Mhm.
You're not looking at life. And I don't mean that brushly. I don't mean that bristly. But people who are stagnant in grief, I can say that they don't get woken up by it. But those of us who walk through it, that's the most awakening moment of our lives.
Right. To keep putting one foot in front of the other, even
Yes.
when you're not sure where it's taking you, or you're not sure you have the
Hmm.
strength to do so. But just
Exactly.
just to keep on trying to move forward, and making the best
Hmm.
decision, and of course we make lots of mistakes and need to correct, the best we can.
Yep.
And that's all the adventure camp.
It's all we can do. That's all we can do. So this soulmate image of finding someone that you thought, maybe I woke up, and yet this is not going to look in the human form what I can do. There's too much politics in the human form.
Mhm.
But yet this awakening that you went through, now you're this wonderful, amazing being who has started aligning your path with your soul.
Yes, and that was what was so hard, because after we broke up, I didn't wanna be here. If I had not had 2 daughters that I just felt were the cat's meow,
Mhm.
and just so wanted to be here for, I really don't think I would have stayed, because it just so, took the life out of me, because I could see the positive contracts that he and I had together, to do so many wonderful things, to
Yep.
help others wake up spiritually, to uh, be on radio about it, to be publishing books about it. I could see all that. I could see the contract for the happy marriage later in life.
Mhm.
And I could just see all those things. So interestingly, they did all come true. not a single one of them the way I thought it would. And they all were on my own and with the help of other people.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
once he was, we'd worked everything out where we were peaceful and were able to just completely close out the relationship a few years ago. And it just really was amazing to know. We just have to have that hubris. We have to have that humility and realize there's this beautiful plan for us, and we're not supposed to know all the details. Exactly. We're supposed to go, oh, wow, look at that. That's amazing. I didn't see that coming. Because again,
kind of going back to the river that I was talking about of life.
Yes.
You know, there's twists and turns in it. And I can tell you for me that my path is on this, my life is on this path. But it's funny how sometimes they make me get off the freeway of life, get me off on a side road to learn some experiences, to get that idea, and then come back down, onto the freeway again to get back on a quicker path. That's our story of our life, though, is that, who is in our life to get us to the next platform.
And I agree. And I think we're meant to go with the flow, meaning to leave room for some spontaneity, to not try and plan things, overplan things. And that's kind of a trauma response of I feel scared, I feel out of control, but to just go with it. My guide showed me literally this morning, they showed them with this 10,000 piece puzzle. And I was not to see any of the puzzle. And they have it in this huge, huge box. And they were just being really playful and like shaking it and smiling and showing that they have so much love and support for me, and that they're going to help all those pieces come together if I'll just leave the puzzle box alone. So it's like, okay, I'll just put my hands on my heart here. I'm not messing in that box.
I hear you. That is so funny because I picture life like a puzzle piece.
Okay.
When we're young ones, maybe a year 2, 5, in that range, our puzzle pieces of life are like the 5-piece puzzle.
Right.
They're pretty big. We're going to learn to walk. We're going to learn to talk. We're going to learn to eat. So the pieces are pretty big. And then when we get a little bit, then we get down to the 100-piece, and then we get it like about teenagehood. We're probably at the maybe we think it's about the 1,000-piece, but it's probably about the 750, because the pieces are still pretty big. But when you're getting into this part of your soul that you're really on the path, that's when you get into the 10,000-piece puzzle, and the pieces are so small that you kind of go these little aha moments. I got it. Well, that little aha, if you put that puzzle in, it was the gleam of an eye of something that's in that puzzle that you don't know what the bigger piece is, but without that gleam, that little piece that makes the gleam in the eye, you wouldn't have that magicalness of that eye come in.
Right. Exactly.
And so for me, it's like every time that I find that moment, like I was talking to you about how I found out about getting rid of or navigating with my headaches a little bit better.
Yes.
That's like a piece of the puzzle. And I feel like it went right in here. But without that, I wouldn't have that color strand of hair. Which is so important to my character.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
my guides are loving this analogy. They took the box with the 10,000 pieces and they turned the cover over so I can't see the box lid.
Yeah, because I don't see what the whole picture is.
Yeah, they literally turned it over.
But I see the gleam. I see the little hair. And I'm picturing that it probably is me coming out of it. My puzzle piece, my puzzle. But I don't know, because I'm down to those almost the 100,000-piece puzzle now, because of everything that I'm finding is so pertinent. So pertinent. I can't put it any other way, but I love the puzzle now. I've had that so many years because it's helped me to kind of go, okay, now I got this puzzle piece. Now I got that one. Now I got that one, to get me motivated to keep going.
Yes. Yeah. And I think just to relax into the journey. So So
Mhm.
what started happening for me in 2013, I didn't know what was occurring, but I started really raising my vibration. And again, it did not look like the fairy tale version of sitting around on a cloud eating bonbons. I felt miserable. I
Mhm.
felt beyond exhausted. Food was weird. Sleep was difficult. And it just, and I literally could feel, I felt like I was shaking, shaking,
Mhm.
shaking, shaking. It was the strangest sensation. And it went on for a good 6 weeks.
Mm,
All I could
mhm.
do was take a shower, go to work, stay focused at work, get home, make dinner, make sure the kids were cared for, and
Mhm.
it was just shaking. And I didn't know that was me raising my vibration literally.
Mhm.
And I did start getting some glimpses of I was aligning with my higher self, and I kept getting these glimpses of this beautiful something, someone to my right, like up a little ahead and to my right. And I managed to get, did we talk about that? How I got aligned with my higher self? So I went to two different psychic friends and I said, I keep hearing, go to the right, go to the right. I don't know what it means. And they both got these huge smiles and they said, "We'll figure it out, but we can't tell you."
Uh-huh.
Like, okay, okay. Thank you for confirming it. I completely
Yes.
get that. And I had a photograph at that time of me, and I then put it through. There was this software demo for like aura photography.
Mhm.
So I put two photos through it, and the one of me alone could see this beautiful, kind of like a bright golden aura, but it wasn't around me in the normal way. It was off to my right. So I'm trying to put these pieces together back to our puzzle analogy. The way it came together, I'm putting the trash out on a Monday night. What can be more mundane but more grounding? Because as you're raising your vibration, you really need to ground. So I'm out at the long driveway. I've pulled these big trash cans out and I'm like, oh, yay, that's done. So I turn and look back at my porch and I'm walking 275 feet and I know I'm going right to the porch. The light is on. What could be simpler than this? All of a sudden, Natasha, I am 15 feet over to the right, standing in front of my lamppost, going, how did I get here?
I love the spirit of life. Oh, what
I
magicness.
thought
Thank you,
it was
universe.
an earthquake. And I'm
Mhm.
like, no, I didn't feel any rolling under my feet. I don't feel any aftershock. I'm looking all around me. So I'm standing there right in front of the lamppost. So I reached out and touched it to steady myself. And I asked my guides, what just happened? And they said, welcome to your higher self. You're now fully aligned. So I was like, oh, wow, that was traumatic. So,
Yay.
and amusing. Put out the
Yes,
trash,
yes, yes, yes.
find your higher self. But isn't that symbolic?
It is, because you just got rid
Get
of
rid
all
of
the trash of life to get to your higher self.
exactly. Exactly. And was wonderfully grounded as I'm walking back through all the gravel and
Mhm, mhm.
and then the next thing that happened, I was working with a spiritual numerologist, and that was a fantastic process because she could specifically see what my karma was for. Because
Oh,
in 2013, I did still have karma. And wherever you're really struggling in life, that might be where you have karma remaining.
mhm.
So,
And I can attest to that because I know for me that right now, I mean, we've talked a little bit behind the scenes, but it's digging through those big shadows that I'm working with.
mhm.
Those the cloaking feeling and that's all karmic through a lot of lifetimes. And I know a
Cloaking,
lot of
as
us.
in feeling a need to be cloaked,
No,
invisible,
no, just
or
that feeling like that no matter what I do, like I can be on walking by someone and they won't see me. There's just this feeling of cloakedness, or I, you're people are walking by. I want you. It's like they look over me, and I've had that my whole life.
Do you feel you might be at a different vibrational
Oh
level?
yeah, and I know that there's a lot of this kind
Do
of going.
people bump into you on the sidewalk or in
Not
stores?
as
This is
much
before
now that I've
COVID.
aligned myself to being, because one thing that I do regularly, because I can do dimensional walk, is
Mhm.
that I say I'm in this body, in this lifetime, in this moment, navigating this story that I am presenting in right
Wonderful.
now to move forward into this reality.
Wonderful.
And so that has done that's like I've practiced that at actually sitting at fairs.
Mhm.
And it's funny how people walk by, and I go, watch this to someone. And I do that little trick, and then whoop, 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 they come and sit down. But it's a bit, it was bigger than that. It was bigger.
Mhm.
It was that, the
Well, it's a
energy for,
technique, really being here now.
yeah. But the cloaking is more universal than it is human, if that makes sense. It's that
Okay.
vibration in the world. And I've been doing, actually I've been doing quite good with it. But it's just that, just those little pieces are still hanging on. And I
Mhm.
know a lot of people are working on something that it is still, there's this, it's like this weight that people are carrying
Mhm.
behind them that they just don't know what it is.
Mhm.
And it takes a different perspective to kind of give you that idea of, oh, that's what it is. That's what it is. Okay, now I can deal with it.
That light bulb moment.
That light bulb
Mhm.
moment. Yes, 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 yes. So you've been in this walk of now your spiritual awakening. You've had this moment of your higher self coming in. Now what do
Yes.
you do with it? Now what do you do with
I
it?
just felt more like me. And I learned
Mhm.
more techniques to align with my higher self. As simple as every morning when I first wake up, I sit on the side of the bed, put my feet on the ground, and I invite my higher self to be fully in my body.
Mhm.
So just little things like that to really be here now.
Mhm.
And just kind of pre-pave the day. Today's going to be a wonderful day. Now, I'm like not even awake when I'm doing this. I have no idea what's on the calendar, but just like pre-paving the day in that way.
Mhm.
And then I took the big detailed list from the spiritual numerologist of all the things I could work on to transmute the karma, to learn the lessons, master the lessons. And at first I was overwhelmed. It's like, oh my gosh, how many lifetimes is this going to take? But I just took a deep breath. It's like, let me just start working on what I can do and don't let myself get overwhelmed where I
Mhm.
don't do any of it because it seems like too much.
Yes.
I had that list done and it was, I think, 21 pages. I had that list done in maybe 6 months. So to the best of my ability.
Mhm.
So I was really thrilled with that. And that made a huge difference to start to be just having addressed that karma and being
Mhm.
willing to learn those lessons. So what I went through next was a Kundalini rising, had really no idea what it was. And
Yes, it's huge. I
it's,
have a good friend that, I met her through being a client, and she's been years with it, years with
yes.
it.
Yes, totally life altering because with a Kundalini rising, a Kundalini awakening, you are bringing back so much more of your own chi, so much more of your own life force. And
Mhm.
it's a really big deal. And the body's got to be prepared, the energy, the nervous system has to be prepared. So it's not something like you whip off to a weekend workshop and go, I'm going to open my Kundalini. I do not recommend that unless you're really
I don't either.
directed to do that. I agree, safe and sane is the way to go. But
Exactly,
some
exactly.
people do have more of a spontaneous, like I did, simply because they don't know what it is.
Mhm.
So what happened was I learned, I was trying to research it because someone had said to me, your Kundalini looks really active. And I'm like, my who? My what? And I had them spell it for me so that I'm trying to research it. I'm trying to understand what it is. And
Mhm.
what I saw on the internet in 2013 was kind of scary. So
Yeah.
I'm glad we have much better information now. And
Yes.
it's 9 years later. And what I saw at that time was working with a Kundalini yoga instructor, or Kundalini meditations could be really helpful. So it's like, okay, I'm new to meditation. Let me look and see, is there such a thing as a specific Kundalini meditation? So I found one, and it's an hour CD by Tom Kenyon, who's a very wonderfully well-known sound healer. And Tom Kenyon has done a lot of writing, and he's got this 5-octave voice. It's pretty incredible. And he wrote the Magdalene manuscript, and he recorded a CD to go with it that was for Kundalini Rising. So I am listening to it home alone, and I sat cross-legged on the floor of my bedroom, which I didn't normally do to meditate. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I wonder why I just feel drawn to do that. It was so I could be grounded. I could be on my sit bones. And within 3 minutes of starting to listen to it for the first time, I could just see the 2 snakes. I knew everything he was going to say on the recording before he said it. And I could see the 2 serpents coming up from the base of the tailbone spine and just doing the dance, and to the left and the right, and the male and the female. And I could feel it going through my body. And it went through all my chakras so hard and so fast. I looked up because I totally blew out of my body. And I'm way up above my house. I'm above the heart opening is just indescribable. And I'm looking down. I'm like, I love everyone. And then I'm like seeing the country, and I'm seeing the world. And then I'm in the gap, and I'm like, love, 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 love. And then I'm like, oh, I'm really kind of far out here. And that scared me a little bit, because I didn't know exactly what was happening or why it happened. So the minute I thought, oh, this is a little too far for me, and that exact moment I went boom, all the way back down into my body and landed pretty hard. So that was a bit jarring on the bones and joints. And then I look up at my ceiling, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to explain to my insurance agent they need to pay for this repair? How do I get this in on my homeowners? Because clearly the blast came from inside my bedroom. There's no tree like lying on the roof. I was so convinced there was a hole.
I hear you.
Because it had just been such a blast of this beautiful spiritual energy. And of course, within about a minute or two, I'm looking up, I'm like, oh, Wendy, there's no hole.
Same thing happened when my dragon awoke. The same thing happened when my dragon awoke.
What was that like?
I tried to tame it enough so the whole Everett would not be demolished.
Thank you.
I had that
for your
moment
thoughtfulness.
where I thought that my dragon, when he got all his stuff off, that he was so mad for being chained down that he was going to wipe out all of Everett. That's how much, and yeah. So I can empathize a little bit with that moment of, wow.
Yes. Well, the dragons have just been demonized, and they're actually magical. I mean, they protect. They guard the portals. They helped prepare the earth for all of us. The ley lines, they're so important.
Oh yeah. I know
to bow to our dragons.
Yeah. No, he sits at my round table.
Yes.
Elder. He doesn't mind me calling him Elder because that's not his true name. But yeah, he sits at my round table. That's
wonderful.
He's my guide. He's one of my main guides.
That's so beautiful. So in hindsight, once the Kundalini's opened and I'm starting to, again, research, I'm like, what the heck happened? What was it? And I knew to be grounding, because I knew I could feel I was still too up there. And I was like so in my heart, but so up above myself too. So I was trying to just, eat well and sleep well and be in nature and like touch trees and touch the grass and, really, really be here on the planet. But as I started finding some better articles, they described.
Guess what card wanted to be pulled? I was pulled to my deck, my deck, and it was like, no, couple more cards.
How perfect that the dragon comes up. How perfect.
Sorry, squirreled for a minute.
No, that's wonderful. But then I started reading that there can be this involuntary rocking, or you can be hissing or spitting or feeling just extreme emotions because you're purging, you're getting ready for this big heart chakra opening. And I had been going through all those things for several months, but I didn't know what they were. So that's how the Kundalini rising came.
Congratulations. I know that once we have that Kundalini rising happening, because I know that for me it happened too, but in a different language, that having that happen, you have no choice but to be you.
Right, right.
You have no choice but to be you.
That's a great way to put it, because you're really returning to yourself, as you are with aligning your higher self too.
Mm-hmm.
So those are just a wonderful part of the process. I did have enough because I went so quickly. Everyone's got their own path. That's what was right for me. I didn't do anything wrong. I just was, meant for that. But I was having enough physical pain from it having been so fast that I went to a spiritual teacher and said, something magnificent happened, but I feel like I need an adjustment because my bones hurt, my joints hurt. I hurt, but I feel so happy.
Yes.
And she helped me, again, back to the puzzle. She helped me align the pieces and bring in a lot of healing for me. And she helped me see the upper chakras had come in, and she helped introduce me to the Ascended Master, who could help me, and just explained that I would now have this beautiful access that I feel is such a privilege, because I really was getting on my path, and then could help others get on their path, embrace their purpose, do their own healing, so that they could be more happy and healthy too. So that's what happened. And it was all a big surprise, and hard to put the pieces together. So I was very grateful when they did come together in such a lovely way.
Isn't it amazing though, when we're on this path, and I don't care if you're purple, black, white, being upside down, whatever, your teachers come, your support team comes, if you're willing to look.
Ask for it. Ask for it. Be humble. Be willing to say, oh my gosh, this is above my pay grade. I don't know what I'm doing.
Exactly.
I really would appreciate help. And then it will come.
Exactly. But and it's also listening. A lot of people, they go, I don't know what to do. And then they look around, and there could be a billboard saying, go to da-da-da place. And they would say, I don't see it.
Luckily, our guides are infinitely patient. They must feel like they're playing a game of charades with blind people.
I know, exactly.
Because they have to keep showing us in so many different ways. But we do get better at it as we learn to communicate with our guides. We get better at it.
We do. I know I've been hearing the whisper to call in, because I'm on the radio for Martha Norwalk's radio show, and I'm actually going to be on this Sunday. Yeah. And so I called in last Sunday because they have some healers on, and I've been hearing the whisper, yeah, you might want to call in. Yeah, you might want to call in. And then this week I heard, get on the list, Natasha. I said, okay. But I think my body wouldn't have been prepared to get that aha moment on the show if I didn't listen to the, yeah, you might want to. Yeah, you might want to. Yeah, you might want to, because that was my body, mind, spirit aligning with what was going to happen on that Sunday. Does that make sense?
It does.
Because that's the thing that the universe does give us a chance, is that little bit of awakening. It gives us a little heads up. Things are going to be happening, and it's being willing to accept it when it comes.
Well, what's that?
Good job.
Oh, thank you. You too. And what's that expression about the whisper of our soul? We have to be quiet enough, which is why you really need that meditation time, or that just quiet writing time, or whatever your spiritual practice is, or that 15-minute walk. whatever it might be, so that you can just hear that beautiful intuition and guidance coming in.
Exactly. Because I know for me, I don't meditate,
Mhm.
but I do lay in bed quietly
Mhm.
before I get out of bed, and I do
Mhm.
lay in quietly. And it could be 15, 20 minutes where I just lay in bed. And at the end of the
Mhm.
day, I lay in
Mhm.
bed and I do my gratitudes.
Mhm.
It's without anything. And yet I do spend time in between this and that. Like before I
Mhm.
get out of the car, sometimes I'll sit there and go, okay, where am I at? What am I
Mhm.
doing? You know, I do take those moments through the day
Mhm.
and
To
breathe with them.
just center.
Just
Yes.
center. So that gives my team a chance to catch up with me or me catch up with them.
Exactly. And I can hear my team really well when I'm in the shower or taking a bath, because again, it's just, that white noise, and you're just, or washing the dishes, something about being by water and just not go, 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 go. It's just,
Mhm.
you just kind of like let it come to you.
Let it come. And that's the thing that I hope people can realize, that it is about us being available. Let it come to us. A lot of people think we have to go to it. No, it's us being in the moment and letting it come to us.
Attracting versus chasing.
Exactly. If we chase, we're on the journey of where it's going. Yet we don't know if it's going to come from the back, the
Mhm.
side, the front, the up, the down, whatever. We
Mhm.
don't know where it's going to come from. So letting it come to us, letting it come to us. Thank you. I love
Oh,
the story of your life, especially this last part of it, because it is amazing, because so many of us are on this spiritual waking moment, and isn't it funny we're having this conversation on a full moon?
perfect timing. Yes. 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 Because of the full moon just being that powerful time to release,
Hmm.
and the new moon with the attracting energy. But yes, just releasing what doesn't serve us anymore. And then those Saturn returns and those eclipses can be a big deal too, because they help us with those mid-course corrections if
Hmm.
we're not quite on course. So it's amazing how many of my clients come to me and they're between the ages of 28 and 30, or 58 and 60. So their first Saturn return or their second Saturn
Uh-huh.
return. It's a really high percentage. And most of them don't know it. They don't realize what it is, but it helps. We can recognize that. So my second Saturn return, again, thought I was doing my work, was doing my best to progress and help others and so on and so forth. Still working full time, had two daughters in college, single mom, very busy. And all of a sudden, I start getting these premonitions. It felt like my job, where I'd been for 10 years and really loved it and had planned to stay through retirement, it felt like that job might be going away. And I then had a specific reading with a wonderful spiritual teacher, and she said, you should start to prepare because it looks like your job may be going away. So just think what that might look like,
Hmm.
and think about, just cleaning out your office, being organized, just so it can be smooth and not be this jarring, sudden
Yes.
thing. And perhaps you'll make some financial decisions differently, knowing that might be coming, or just think about what your next move might be. So I
Hmm.
knew for about 6 months, I had a
That's
feeling,
nice.
which was great. And then I was laid off, and it was on a Friday, and it was done very, very, very well. I give big kudos to my employer, because just very gracious, gave me lots of choices, so supportive, and very, very well done. And it's hard to do well. There's studies showing it is harder to lay off or fire someone than it is to be the person that's having that occur for
Experience.
them.
Oh, it
It's
is. It
harder.
is. Yes.
It's harder to do that. So it was
There's
done.
so
It
much
was
responsibility,
it was done very
and
well.
And holding integrity. And I
Yes.
want to kind of go back to that moment of having time to process.
Mm-hmm.
And this is talking about grief, because ending
Mm-hmm.
a job is grieving,
Yes.
and that's where I want people to have an understanding that when we're dealing with grief, and that's maybe why we're having so much problems with people who are grieving with COVID,
Mm-hmm.
because there's been so many deaths that have happened quickly.
Mm-hmm.
They've happened quickly. And if we have the time to process, i.e., find out somebody who has cancer, and we have those months, the years to figure it out, to process through the moment of them passing. So it's almost like going through an intersection, and it's not less any trauma, it can hurt just as much. But it's
But you
almost
have the
like
time.
you have the time. And then if we have that abruptness of, let's say, the car accident and someone passes, or a heart attack and somebody passes, there's not that time. It's like getting hit in the face
Mm-hmm.
with a hard impact,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so jarring. And being able to do that. So I'm grateful that you got that heads up, because it's something that you love so much.
I did. And it, as I said, it was just so well handled. And I had everything down to one plastic bin of my personal possessions. So I knew I'd be ready to go and could, just walk out easily, instead of being in this just, tumultuous clean out your office of 10 years.
Yes.
So it was really, really done well. But yes, I did grieve it. So what I did was, I was laid off on a Friday. And my family happened to be away. It was perfect timing. So I gave myself the weekend to kick and scream and cry and just throw a fit.
Good
And that
job.
is important.
Honoring that. Yes.
That is
Honoring that emotion.
important.
Great job.
Because if you stuff it down, it's going to come up later in the most inconvenient way. Yes. And you're going to project it onto someone else or deflect it. It's going to pop out in the ugliest, weirdest way.
Yep.
So I gave myself that weekend. And then on Monday, I updated my family as calmly as I could, which was important to do, because both my daughters were then worried. What did it mean for them? Yes. And I was able to look them straight in the eye and said, there'll be some changes. We don't know what they are, but you are to focus on college. You stay in college. We're going to be fine. I will figure it out. My job is to help you get your education. Mm-hmm. So I was able to say that to them, and they did both stay in college. And I did figure it out. And I was looking for a position, was looking for traditional employment, but I could hear my guides saying, you're not going to find it, because we don't want you to. Because it's not that they're being mean or vindictive, mm-hmm. Not at all, but they just said it's not your highest path. It wasn't in alignment with you anymore. It's not your calling. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking and going, this is weird, because there's really not a recession going on. I've got an MBA degree. I've got 30 years. I've got great references, a great network. This is very interesting. But I listened to that voice. So while I was still networking, I was working really hard on starting my own business. And I had a running start, because I'd already been seeing clients for about 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I had already published my first book, and I had done a little bit of podcasting and radio interviews. So, my toe was sort of in the water, and I just knew, okay, I now need to figure out a website. I need to get a business coach. I need to really ramp this up. And what an amazing opportunity, because I now have the time to do it. So that's what happened.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. And then about a year later, my car, which I was very happy with, totally paid off, running great. I park at an event, and I'm always a careful driver. And I had pulled in, and I had asked the angels, should I park in here? Should I park in the lot, or should I park look out on the street, because it just was kind of like a busy area. Mm-hmm. And I saw, there's one place left. And I said to the angels, should I take that place? They said, yes, that's your place. Take that parking spot. So I said, great. thank you. So I went into the event and was there for a couple of hours. It was a dog rescue event. And I came out and I get in my car and getting ready to leave. But it was really hard to make the right turn. It was really hard to see because the two cars that were parked on the street were huge. So they're just blocking my view. So I'm edging out really carefully. And I'm asking my angels, is it safe to pull out? Can I pull out now? And they said, yes. And I can't see any cars. So I pull out, boom. I get spun around almost 360 degrees. I get shoved back over the sidewalk. 3 of the airbags go off, which is like an explosion in your face. So the 2 front ones and the driver's side, because I was hit on the front bumper, but getting toward the driver's side. And so it's like a bomb. It's like a bomb. And I couldn't get my foot on the brake. I'm just like, please don't let me hit a person or a dog. Because there had been so many people walking in that area. And there was a restaurant, there was seated dining. And I have no idea where I am because I'm completely blind. And so I'm just trying to like brake. Where's the brake? And when my car stops, I'm almost on the front steps of where I had just left. So it really, really was a scary collision and impact. And my thought was, I didn't question or blame the angels in any way. I just said, please let everyone be okay. Help everyone here, anyone impacted. And when I get home, we're going to talk because I need to understand this. And I had to, there's no had to in life. I chose to call the police because I wanted them to sort it out, because the car that had hit me, and I know I'm at fault because I'm the one pulling out of the parking lot, and she had hit me so hard. So it turned out to be a smaller car, which is why I couldn't see her through the other 2 large parked cars. She hit me so hard. She had then, the poor thing, she careened into a parked car. So there's 3 cars now involved. Thankfully, no pedestrians or anyone else hit, but I chose to call the police, and they came and sorted it out. And so I'm on the phone with the 911 operator. This is not a comfortable call to make. And she says, "Where are you?" And I gave her the address. I looked up the address and wrote it down just before I called her because I was pretty rattled. And I told her where I was, and I said it's directly opposite the Big Fred Meyer on Lake City Way, and I gave her the address. She said, fine, but where are you? I need to know where to dispatch the police to. Is it a house? Is it a store? Is it a garage? I didn't want to tell her. Would you like to know the name of where I was? The Hellbent Brewery. I did not want to say that. I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to think, woman is drinking. And I just did not want to. I was fearing being judged. So the police came, and he was wonderful. And we talked, and he says, I don't even need to give you a breathalyzer. He says, but I do need for the record to ask you, did you consume any alcohol today, and how much and when have you eaten today? So we went through the whole conversation. And I told him what I was there for, and he could see I was wearing a sweatshirt from the dog rescue. He says, oh, they have dog rescue events there? And all my friends were coming out with the same sweatshirts on, with holding dog, and everyone's like, Wendy, are you okay? And several of them verified and said, everything's okay here, isn't it, officer? Because they were going to, back me up if need be. And he's like, oh, there's no problem at all. I'm just sorting this out. I'm going to get the tow trucks. There's no problem. With a concern about alcohol. So I was like, phew. But why it all happened, it was for me to release my fear of authority, because I had to call the police from a brewery where I'm in an at-fault accident, and then had to deal with the insurance company, had to deal with traffic court, had to deal with my insurance company getting my car declared totaled, just all these authority. Yeah.
So, that's the thing is that a lot of us think that when we are aligned with the angels and they say yes, that it's going to be perfect cotton candy and bubblegum.
Right.
when they say yes many times, it is bubblegum.
Mhm.
And then there's going to be times where it's like, if you don't go through this experience,
Mhm.
you're not going to be in alignment with what's going to come to you in the future.
Correct.
If
And
you do not release that experience or that umbrella application, you're not going to be
it was a
able to.
teachable moment. They
Mhm.
seized it and they used it. And to my surprise, so I just kept saying to myself, everything's going to go beautifully. And I couldn't believe it. My insurance rates didn't go up because I had no fault, which I didn't even know because it was my first ever at fault.
Uh-huh.
And the traffic ticket got reduced because I was able to tell the judge what had happened. And he also saw, perfect driving record of 30 plus years.
Yeah. It was
So
just a moment.
it
And
was-
as my insurance company says, there are called accidents.
right.
They just
And
happen.
it just, and a friend helped me who used to be an insurance negotiator. He helped me negotiate a higher rate for the payout for my car. Just everything. I had insurance to have a rental car provided so I could take my time to decide what do I buy to replace it because it was totaled. It just, everything went beautifully. And the difference afterwards, and I didn't ever realize how bad it had been, but I used to be nervous, even when I would get mail, physical mail from the bank, from the IRS, from an insurance company, anything that
Of
felt
authority.
like authority, or an email. I'd be like, oh, and I would startle, like I would feel uncomfortable, guilty, fearful. There were just issues around authority from past lives, but I didn't know that. And I didn't know how I was still really living it out. So thank you, angels.
Yes. I can say the same thing happened with me when it took me 5 hours to connect my simple internet. I got so angry that I blew a hole in the aura of my house. People go, there's auras of a house? I go, yes, I know that now. And that lesson gave me to have the empowerment with my technology instead of my technology having power over me.
Oh, that's beautiful. That really, really is, because technology is such an increasing part of our lives.
It is. And shortly after that, I ended up having to be the producer of both shows and basically the producer of my business, because my business has many platforms dealing with Facebook and Instagram.
Absolutely.
And so I'm producing a lot of that. And if I didn't have that application, I would kind of go, like I used to.
Right. That's beautiful. Good for you. It's
Well,
getting
thank you.
it's getting in our power.
It is.
And when it's power or technology, it's quite literal.
So with that I'm hoping that if anybody can get this information out of these conversations, that Wendy, thank you for presenting it so well, that many a times we go through these bumps, and if we can hit these bumps with, okay, here I am. What are we going to do with it? How are we going to do this? Yes, ouch, that hurt, wah, 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 for a while, but then saying, okay, now for me to get going. Now it's time for me to get going. Have that emotion and then say, I got to get going. What am I going to do with this? If we can have that empowerment with self, it's amazing how those stubble points help. Because I can tell you, I still have moments with technology and I embrace them. And then I say, what am I going to do with it now? They're here. They're here to help us. Those yeses, this is a perfect time for you to pull out of that parking lot. It's a perfect time for you to learn something about authority. It wasn't a perfect time for you to back up. It was a perfect time for you to learn about authority. Just like me making a decision about my internet. It was a perfect time for me to learn about technology, about my empowerment with self.
And I went back because it's a road that I drive fairly often. So I went back a few days later and I just cleared all the energy and just blessed it
good
and just
job.
smoothed it out so that I wouldn't ever feel a twinge going by there again. Because I knew there could be some, for me and for other people too, because as I said, multiple people were involved. And again, it went so beautifully because I couldn't believe how quickly people came to our aid, because before the police even got there, I mean, people came running to each of the cars and were assessing, did ambulances need to be called? And one gentleman told me, he said, turn off your car's still running. Let's get your car turned off. Which definitely helped. And I was trying to drink from my water bottle, which had nothing in it. And he says, let me go get you some cold water. But people ran out in the street, and I don't know where they produced cones from, but they blocked around the accident scene to just preserve it. And they were directing traffic so no one else. And I was like, who are these good Samaritans? So I think the
it was
angels
a perfect time.
The angels had it planned.
Exactly. It was a perfect time.
Yeah.
Perfect time.
Absolutely.
Perfect time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I know for me too, that perfect time for me, I also learned about my energy. I learned what my energy was. Every time that I got wound up, I had to redo something. Every time I stayed calm, it worked with me.
Right. And sometimes you just need to walk away and just leave it for a few hours or leave it for the next day. And then we figure out how to do it in a calm way.
Yes. Well, thank you, Wendy. This has been a blessing. Do
Well,
you want to
thank
leave
you.
anybody with anything, because we're actually, if anybody's interested, we just set up Wendy to be on our Dance of the Soul show, so that her and Regan can have some conversation about hypnotherapy and the dance of a lot of that kind of stuff. So I'm excited about that.
Well, thank you. I just like to leave people with, just trust your intuition and just carve out those quiet moments. Even if it's when you're falling asleep or you're in the shower or that short walk or whatever it might be, so that you just stay centered and aligned. And life is so much happier when you've got that intuitive guidance and that feeling of your higher self and your guides helping you, because you're so loved and supported. So just give yourself the grace of that.
Oh, thank you for that. Now, I was called to pull a couple cards.
Oh, please.
This is you posted on my Instagram account about when I pulled that card, and yes, it's from the Wisdom of the Avalon deck.
Yes,
from Claudette Baron Reed. So what I did was I was shuffling, and these 4 cards stuck literally to my fingers. Okay, so which one wants to come out first? The Wind Fairy. So the Wind Fairy came out.
I literally have that card out in my bedroom. I just drew it yesterday.
The Wind Fairy. And the Wind Fairy is about thoughts, words, intellectual analytics. I hope I said that right. And I'm going to bring this up just so people can make sure that I read it right.
Thoughts, words, and intellectual analysis.
Thank you. Dyslexic. That's one thing that when I have migraines, it rewires. I know it's a rewiring of my brain. And so it takes me a couple of sometimes weeks to come out of that. But the wind. So remember that when the wind blows, metaphorically or for real, let it carry things away. Full moon. Let them carry them away. Let that energy, when that wind comes by you metaphorically, let it blow those things that you've been holding on to. That
winds
it's time
to
let go of the winds of change. Let her take. Look at her grace. She's not going to do it meanfully. She's going to do it with the wings of her
She's
fae.
Beautiful.
Isn't she beautiful? Because it takes partnership in our life. So remember that as we go and as we walk, it does take partnership in our ability to navigate the waters of where we're going. If you don't know, call out. I was so grateful, Veronica, if you're still on, that you checked in with me today. I'm having a rough day. Can you send me blessings? And that was a partnership in our day, because it's the path. And I love these cards. And I know the new deck doesn't have this application. And I love this deck because it's always the same path, but it's your perception of what word you put with it. Because the next one is love.
Oh.
So have love for yourself as you're going
Mhm.
through these winds of change, because it's going to take a little bit of risk to
Mhm.
go where we need to go
Mhm.
in order for the winds of change to take us where we're needing to go.
And don't 3 of the 4 cards have the same image?
Yes.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, like I said, this
There's
is
not many in the deck have the same image. That's
exactly.
amazing.
Exactly. And that's what I like about this older deck is that they're all the
Mhm.
same thing. So, the path of life is going to be what it's going to be. But if you're in the mode of risk,
Mhm.
always in risk, fear and flight, I don't know what I'm going to do, may not be able to see the love.
Mhm.
Oops, the love that's coming to you.
Mhm.
Or that it takes partnership to walk down the path of life.
Mhm.
And the path of life is always going to have roots, bumps, but it's going to be light. It's going to be light. So with that, I hope that people can know that when the winds of change come, it's going to take a partnership to get through the risk of where you're going to go. Blessings to everyone. Thank you again, Wendy,
My
for
absolute
spending
pleasure. Thank
time
you.
with me and this journey of life. And I feel now that it's like we've because last time it was like, no, we can't stop now. I had that internal feeling. So thank you for this.
My
Blessings.
pleasure.
How do people get a hold of you?
Via my website, which is my full name, wendyrosewilliams.com. And you can request a complimentary 15-minute phone appointment with me there to see how I might be of service. You can also check out wakingupspiritually.com. That's where my podcast is archived. And you can also look for my books on Amazon.
Congratulations. I will look for them because I know that you have a tremendous moment for yourself that way. Thank you.
Well,
And if
thank you.
anybody's wanting to get a hold of me, you can reach me at angelicclarifications.com at the bottom of the page. I am here Mondays and Wednesdays at 4:00 Pacific time, willing to help you. And I love having private sessions with people, because it gives me the ability to help you navigate your life for seeing a different perspective, to go, you know what? I got the tools to do it. I got the tools to do it. I
And
know I had a
I
conversation with someone lately, and they said, you know what? You helped me so much. And they sent me a friend because it was like in that moment, and they were in a moment of deep grief, that I got a perspective and saved me.
I love your gifts, Natasha. Highly recommend listeners do a session with her, because just the fact that you have memories all the way back to your birth is quite remarkable. And you do have that clarity.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you so much. Yeah, because I have the memory of this physical birth, and I have the
Mhm.
memory of my soul birth.
Mhm.
So
That's unbelievable.
I just realized I have my memory of when I was awakened. Hmm. Blessings to all. Welcome
Thank
to
you,
this
everyone.
life, and may this full moon give you grace and ease moving into your new knowing of yourself, because it is worthy of letting go of what no longer suits you. Blessings, everyone. See you on Monday.